What up, internet? I'm eating my lunch. I also dolloped a thing of peanut butter onto my plate. Don't judge me. I love peanut butter. Okay, so tomorrow, I was gonna do it today. Tomorrow I will have, because I probably haven't uploaded anything for this week. Tomorrow I will have a video on the hair process. Now it's gross. It doesn't look like it works, but just look back to this video. Look at my lovely silky smooth hair. And think about that. I've just ran my peanut butter finger through my hair, haven't I? Oh boy. But yeah, so for those of you who actually want curls still after this, what the heck is wrong with you? It's nasty. And it's a lot of hard work. But it's worth it. For me at least. Because it's something unique that that's just uniquely me. Well. Peanut butter. And then I have a little bit of a rant video about the thing the US is trying to implement for internet trainers, more or less. I'm assuming that's why it is. But they're basically gonna make people pay for this, that, or the other thing. Where is it? Vice President, Senate, judgment in cases, the time, place, and where hold elections, Congress shall assemble, Section 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, Section 6, Senator, Representative, nope, Section 7, all bills. 8, Congress shall have the power to lay. I love how basically their amendments. Oh my god. No wonder why. Okay, so a lot of this stuff in here would legally therefore allow them to put in this law that makes people have to pay for different packages on their internet. State electors, the Congress, no person except national blah 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 blah. This is all about the president and what he can and can't do in here. Section states and relations. Mode of amendment. Amendments. Okay. So, freedom of expression and religion. Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Basically what that says is that The government cannot prohibit the news from newsing, more or less. The press from putting articles out. Cannot legally, as long as you're protesting peacefully, dismember a peaceful protest. Or block any petition. They have to legally see these petitions. So that was the First Amendment. And by having people pay for entertainment packages, you therefore would have to, right now, the state that YouTube is in with the amount of information that goes out on YouTube. My sister's a prime example of this. She does not have cable, I believe, unless she changed her mind and got it recently. We don't live in the US. But if we did, her right to know what's going on in the world and politics and stuff, and the safety of her child due to the state of the country, like if the country were to go to war and this law were in place, there are people who don't have satellite who are not going to pay for satellite who would be at jeopardy. So CNN puts out a national post, everybody get in a bunker or something like that because somebody's sending a bomb or something. By taking that right, especially with YouTube and stuff, you would be taking away that safety and that freedom of speech and information. Excessive bail. No, that's not what I was thinking of. Innumerable rights. So the innumerable rights. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Therefore, what they are doing by allowing this to happen, they are technically blocking the right of the people to know. YouTube is basically a social media account at this point. It's a social media thing. People share their thoughts, their opinions, vlogging, and the news. You cannot legally withhold information from people. That's why, even though you pay for a satellite dish, you get a certain set of stuff that comes with that. That's why you get, most of the time, what is it? It's usually news channels. What's the difference? Some news channels probably have already switched over to just internet only. You are therefore prohibiting the right to know if your country is at war or if your country is at peace. You are therefore inhibiting the right to know, the right to education, which I believe is one of the human rights. You can only get so much information from school. And there are only so many places that set up classes for other things, like sign language. There's probably stuff on the internet where you can learn how to sign, to communicate, which is a safety thing if you need it, if you need to learn how to sign. All that stuff. By prohibiting social media sites like Facebook, you are therefore putting in jeopardy the lives of your citizens. Twitter, which all fall under the same category, if you ask me, is YouTube. So if you're going to do YouTube, you might as well do that. So, by inhibiting Facebook and Twitter, I myself in Canada, we do not get very many tornadoes. Not like they do in the US. But I have this Ontario Tornado Watch, which also watches for blizzards, potential for power outages. Say that law were to be made here. By allowing that law to take place here, you would therefore then be restricting the access to safety information and stuff, which therefore legally would put not only my life, but the life of other citizens who use that as their means of staying up to date with the world in jeopardy. You are therefore legally inhibiting their right to know, and their freedom of speech and information rights. You cannot legally put this in place. The internet is not owned by one person. If it was, then that person would have the right to make the executive decision due to the fact that it is their own possession. But because the internet is out there for everyone to use, and it's not owned by one person, it might be owned by a select group of people who would not sell their share. Because of that, you cannot legally put a tax on it or a certain amount of whatever on it. People who are, I'm not saying the internet should be free, but logically by that point, and that point I'm making, it could be free, but then a bunch of people would be out of the job, and I'm sure everybody would feel like a jerk if their neighbor, who is, I don't know, somebody who's works for an internet company, suddenly was out of the job because they pushed this thing. What I recommend the US government do, internet providers decide whether or not they want to have these packages. Mind you, they will be losing customers. But what they can do is they can negotiate. I can't even English. Negotiate with YouTube to have YouTube Red maybe be added to the price of certain users, like premium members' subscriptions to these different packages where you have unlimited this, but you have limited this. Mind you, that would mean that most things would be monitored, and that would be digital search and seizure, which is also illegal according to the Constitution, search and seizure of possessions, and you cannot do that without a warrant, and you cannot get a warrant on an entire country, or even a section of the country. Because you will have probably a revolution in by US. So, therefore, legally, if you look at it, now if somebody can find some other justifiable reason for this to be in place that counteracts or counter argues my points, please do comment it below. I will read the entire thing. I'll come back on here and I will discuss it. I will point out your flaws or point out your validations. I can see where maybe this is a good way to crack down on criminals, but legally they cannot do something like even just monitoring the internet without letting people know. That's the way it works in the US. If the US wanted to take legal action against its citizens, it'd be stupid, but I believe it can with this. But what it should do, it does raise a lot of questions, like why do they want to do this? Are they going to start controlling everybody? Is it going to start rolling slowly into the communism that everybody feared would happen with Trump? I don't think so. I think Trump, but nothing against any political thing. I'm not a political person, but from my personal opinion, from the way that he's reacting, from the way that I'm not a psychologist, but because of YouTube, I have learned a few tricks and tips because I'm a very compassionate person and I wanted to learn how to tell if somebody's worried, sad, or something like that. And I live with seniors and they're very they're of the generation that was very secretive, and as they get older, I'm going to have to be their primary caretaker, so I wanted to learn how body language works, how all this stuff works. Unless I can't handle it, then I'm not going to be one of those persons who are like, oh, blah, 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 government support me. No. If I can't handle it, I will put them in a home. They've already agreed to it, but I am going to try my darndest first to take care of them myself. But I wanted to learn all these things and recognize it now, so when it comes the time that I have to take over as mom and dad, instead of mom and dad being mom and dad, I want to be able to recognize these things like that. So, by not allowing people to have access to that kind of information, you are therefore taking away their rights. I have no idea what I was talking about 5 minutes ago, but I got onto that conniption about that. But, oh, right, President Trump. What it seems to me is that, yes, he's going through a little bit of a... not as in, like, crazy mental crisis, but a little bit of a mental crisis. I feel like when he was running, he didn't know what he was in for. I feel like, judging by his Twitter rants, which he then recants later on, or somebody else has to fix for him, which he's been like most of his life, he seems like the kind of person who likes stress, can perform somewhat okay under stress, but the stress also causes other things in his life to collapse. It's like, the way that I see it is that mentality is like juggling balls. So it's like somebody threw in an extra ball and he's juggling it. But he's struggling with keeping up with it. So I haven't paid attention to the US politics. I don't know if he's doing a good job with everything. I don't know if he's doing a bad job with everything. I'm Canadian. It doesn't matter. To me, well, it does a little bit, but not on a level where I pay attention to the politics. What I do pay attention to is the way that he interacts with those in charge of other countries that could possibly be a threat to the US, therefore a threat to us as Canadians. Those I pay attention to a little bit, but I try, as of right now, my mind is in a frazzled state a little bit here and there, so I'm trying to avoid a lot of things that worry me in general. So that's happening right now. So I'm ignoring most of it, so take everything I'm saying about Trump as, like, I have no idea about anything going on in the US politically. I am aware that there are gun problems right now, and they're bringing up the gun laws again. There are probably solutions to that, but I'm not a US citizen. I cannot comment on that. What I can comment on is things that I'm afraid of as a Canadian. If they prohibit these things, and with most of these internet companies based out of the US, like YouTube is in the US, Google is in the US, all that stuff is in the US. The reason why I'm commenting on that right now is because, as a Canadian who gets their stuff like that from the US, is that going to affect us? Therefore, that does make it the Canadian YouTuber or whoever's responsibility to at least speak out about it. Now, I believe that if you are in the US, somebody needs to start a petition down there. I don't believe I can legally make a petition. Markiplier, if you ever see this, maybe you should start it, because you've got how many followers? Get the other YouTubers that are based in the US, the big ones, to do so as well. Sign it, and get their followers to sign it, to make that, I don't know, maybe make it into something that can become an amendment that you cannot charge excess money for that stuff. Like that's freedom of information stuff. Mind you, gaming stuff, yeah, most of my channel, most of Markiplier's channel, most of half of the internet's channel, Minecraft, legally, that could technically be charged, but there is a lot of other stuff on there that is information that people have the right to. You would have to break it down into individual things. Like, you'd have to have, each channel would have to be categorized. And some channels are political and entertaining. Some channels aren't. My channel, I don't know what you guys would call it, but I don't usually get political. At least not intentionally. Whatever's going on down there, you people need to fix it down in the US. Your country, from the Canadian standpoint, looks like it's falling apart. You guys are killing each other on a higher rate than normal. Being stubborn about gun laws. Even if you guys made temporary gun laws till you got something in place, would that not be better to have a 20-year gun prohibition? I agree. I had a political discussion with a guy on Facebook. A friend of mine had a friend. He started the conversation. I agree that it's more about these people need to be integrated into society and accepted, whether you want to accept them or not. It is more about a loneliness, isolation problem. I agree with that. And that needs to be solved, but until that gets resolved, there has to be something in place. Basically, look at it this way. Seatbelts. Seatbelts were optional, and airbags and all that safety stuff in cars were optional for a while. You had that option to have it, but you had to pay extra for it. And then they made it the law that it has to have that. Cars have to have that stuff. So maybe make it a license and registration process. In Canada, we can go into a Canadian Tire and buy a license. You can buy a shotgun in there or something like that, or whatever. Have each, again, this is going to be a really long video probably. Each type of weapon should be categorized by what it can do in the hands of a crazy person. More or less. Oh boy, it looks like my sandwich has been shot. The irony. Nope, didn't fix it. I took it off the crust. Okay, don't judge me. Did you hear that political mumbo jumbo? Yeah. It's basically 1:19, so I have to eat. If you have each of these weapons abbreviated into categories, you don't need a license for category 1. You could have weapon upgrades be category 2. You need to pay and you need to have a check. 3 would be like, they probably give you, do they give you a psychological? I'm pretty sure they give you a psychological evaluation going into the army. I'm not sure how it works. I know that it is illegal for a standard US citizen to, or any regular US citizen to own a semi-automatic weapon or an automatic weapon like a machine gun. That's good. But stuff like that, stuff that can turn weapons into machine guns should require a paid license and a psych test to make sure you're okay upstairs. You'd be creating jobs, Trump. By doing that. And it would create jobs. It would create the need for more psychologists to be at these places where these expensive things are sold. Therefore, it's not restricting access. It is in a way because everything in the world is basically different levels of restricted access. If you have $1 million, you can buy yourself a Mustang or whatever. But if you have $1,000 in your account, you can't, because you can't afford it, right? So there's no difference to that. The only difference is that by having these people passed as like these people who want to bear these arms, which is legally in your constitution, then you have, if you want to have that right should not just come free to anyone, because that would make the right to, I don't know which one I'm thinking of. I'm not sure if it's the US or Canada, but there's a right to defend yourself. Well, you could say somebody called my mom stupid or something like that, and you could shoot them, and you could say that's your right to defend them. I know that's extreme and that a court wouldn't rule in that favor, but legally on paper, due to that, that is technically following that right. I'm not saying go do that now, okay? Do not go do that. If you go do that, I am going to never stop. I'm not condoning that. Do not do that. If you go do that, okay, I can't. I'm gonna be really angry. The point I'm trying to make is that the US either A, needs to relook at their constitution, reevaluate their current laws, whether that be with guns or with this whole thing. Especially with the YouTube thing. YouTube, Facebook, any other social media site like that should not be paid for. If you want to have other websites be different packages, like, I don't know. There should be certain, if you're going to do this US, do it correctly. Do it with the acceptance of your people. Or do not expect half of them to stay in the US. We got a lot of open spaces in the prairies, but we get some of our resources from the US and some of them from here. And some from other places in the world. Again, I am going to reiterate that this is my opinion. This is not the opinion of Canada as a shared whole. Some of it is based off of what I've heard from everybody else about this. Some of it is just based off of my own ideas. If you're going to get upset at anybody, don't get upset at Canada. Just get upset at me because I am a very opinionated Canadian. We do exist. Yes, we do exist. I think what the US needs to do right now is they need to reevaluate themselves as a society. Canada probably does too. But the US is one of the biggest powerhouses in the world. I don't know if it's the biggest or just one of the biggest. You may not survive the next 100 years intact as a complete United States of America. And that's okay. That's history. That's how it happens. But as of right now, the problems you are creating are outweighing your solutions. You've got some serious problems with people cybernetically recruiting people for terrorist groups and stuff. Have a 20-year law or a 30-year law where legally you can search this stuff till either A, it is eliminated, the problem is eliminated, or B, till that is over, and then reinstate another law until that stuff is done. As a Canadian, I can't speak for the US citizens, but if I were a US citizen, I would be okay with that rule. There will be some who will be in an uproar, but if you pass it by vote, each state, then yes. Probably most people will agree. If you want to end stuff like ISIS and stuff like that, which they say, from what I've heard, I haven't done any research on it yet, so don't take it at face value. I've heard from the internet, from just glancing through pages and stuff, and I've been really busy lately, so I haven't had time to read these articles, but I thought I saw an article on how they're gonna make their center in the US. If the US does not offer a sense of community to these people, these young people, these old people, they're going to feel a sense of community in there. That is how cults work. If you don't believe me, go watch a documentary or go Google, well, we still have free access to Google, how cults work. What they do is they drag you in. If you're an isolated person, they will drag you in with, come join us. We love you. We will be there for you. And that's how it starts. That is how any cult, terror organization, anything like that works. Heck, that's even how families work. Families love each other. Yes, they actually do. But at the same time, it's like extended family or something like that. Or some families are like, I don't know, this, that, or the other thing. Some families will be like, if you love me, you'll do this for me. And you want to prove that love. It's basically the same thing. They make you feel welcome. They make you feel warm. They make you feel cozy. And then they're like, oh, well, we've just done all this for you. Can you do this one thing for us? Meanwhile, you go do it, you come back, oh, here's another a little bit more extreme and extreme and extreme and extreme until it's like, oh, can you go kill a bunch of people for us? And because at that point you're so brainwashed, you have no other options. You think, oh, okay. Yeah. So before you guys go getting in a situation like that, because you guys are being racist and bigots, or not bigots, what's the word I'm looking for? And stupid and cruel and There's a big word I'm thinking. I can't think. But while you guys are doing that, you're creating these isolated pockets of people who need community. And what happens? What happened with Facebook? People reached out to one another. You have these different groups that are like, oh, we all like Doctor Who. So we're all gonna watch Doctor Who, and then we're gonna make a page, and then we're gonna comment about what we thought about this episode, or that episode, or, ooh, I liked this, or, oh, I didn't like that. Did you like this? No, I didn't actually. Oh, okay, let's start a discussion. I would call it the social media effect if I could coin the phrase, but it's basically the same thing. It can be used either way. It can be good or it can be bad. And if you don't include these people in community events, even if they don't speak a word of English, that's what Google Translate is for while we still have free access. Access your Google Translate, invite them to the community barbecue. Even if they show up in the full Muslim gear, or the women are wearing whatever those black thingies are that they wear. I don't know what they're called. I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that. And everybody else is in shorts and a t-shirt. Somebody needs to fix the isolation problem. I'm in Canada, okay? We're really welcoming. We usually are okay with people doing whatever the heck they want. Quebec is a bad example. One point I will make about that, since I'm commenting on the US politics, I will comment on the Canadian politics. That whole wearing the black thingy, it is a religious choice. It is, even the hijab, I believe it's called, the headscarf. I'm going to educate y'all for a minute there. It is not only an oppression thing. In some countries where women are forced to wear it, I view that as oppression. But in countries like these, as long as the women are okay with it and their husbands aren't forcing them to do with it, it boils down to this. The headscarf, the hijab, I'm not sure if burqa is the correct term for the entire thing, but we're going to call it a burqa for now, because I don't know what it's called. But the hijab is to save a woman's hair and a woman's face sometimes, because some of them, they'll be allowed to wear whatever they want, but they still have to wear a headscarf. Or no, they choose to wear a headscarf more in the US and Canada than anywhere else. The hijab is to save it for your husband, because you do not want the eyes of men wandering on you. I don't know if that's the exact term, or if those are the exact words or the exact translations, but the burqa takes that hair and brings it up to a whole new level. If a woman legally doesn't want to show her face to him, or like, not legally, literally doesn't want to show her face to a man, the solution is have more women in these workplaces. There's no rule against a woman showing her face to another woman. These women all dressed in black and the burqas or whatever, when they're at home, they don't have to be like that unless company's coming over. I'm sure they probably wear something on their head that they can cover up, or something, or like a cape or something that they can wear in the house in case company spontaneously comes over, although that doesn't happen very often in society anymore. The point is that if that were in the US, that would technically be taking away your right to practice your religion. I don't know, I haven't done much in looking into the Canadian Constitution or whatever. I do not agree with these women flat out refusing to not show their face. There is a lot of scamming that can be done. For all you know, they could have a bomb or something under there. I'm not saying all women that wear the burqa are like that, but how do you know? I would not even object. I'm Catholic. I would not even object to a nun having to take off her habit. Mind you, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as a nun wearing a habit. A little bit more extreme because the face is covered, but only by a little bit. Right? The point is that if the law that they're following religiously, which I do believe, if I remember correctly from my world religions class, allows these women to reveal their face to another woman, then Canada needs to step up its game and needs to have more women working in these places. If there's not a woman in the building that can verify this person's identity, then I believe that because it's a safety problem, that they should either that then they can refuse to serve this person. But if there's a woman in the building who can verify it, instead of these men insisting upon remove your burqa, remove your face covering, and creating a bigger problem, have a woman in the building. Whether that means that she has to be a religious woman who is also wearing a burqa or something, I don't know. Whatever it takes. If these leaders of these communities need to appoint someone, have them go through the government system, have them have a background check to make sure they're not a liar, or they're not going to rip somebody off, or have somebody from another community come in who has nothing to do with this person or these people in this community, because there are different communities all over the place for different religions. Whatever you have to do. If these women are exercising their right to practice their religions and they don't want to remove this stuff for a man, find out if there's a loophole for a woman. Doesn't matter if it's Islam or some other religion, like some weird conservative Christian religion. Hold on. Sorry about that. But yeah, basically these laws need to be, if the people will not move, you need to work around these people. So if the US wants to instate a law, then the internet provider can provide stuff like social medias, popular sites like that, free. Because there will be an uproar, everybody will stop using the internet, and the government will lose money. These burqa things, or whatever, have a woman in the building, they can legally reveal their face, like, under their laws, I believe, if I am correct, they can reveal their face to a woman. Peanut butter. Anyway. Enough getting political. If you've made it to this point in the video and you haven't unsubscribed from me, hello! Hi! Welcome to Musical C26. It's usually not this heavy. So this week, I've given up caffeine. So, I'm a little bit moody. Well, not caffeine in general, I just mean coffee. I like peanut butter. There are a lot of problems in the world. Let's just end it with that. There are a lot of problems. It's not, excuse the language, but it's not bloody likely that all of them will be sorted anytime soon. There's a good chance that a lot of the countries that exist now won't exist in 100 years, nor will the conflicts within them, nor the problems that we're currently facing. Heck, there's a good chance we might not even exist in 100 years. Who knows? A meteor could strike as soon as I post this video. You never know. The point is that if this world is going to sort out its problems, We have to stop hating each other because of the way that we look, the way that we think. You may not agree with what everybody says, but nobody said you're number one. Nobody said you're king of the planet. Nobody said you're the only person in this universe. Well, there is different scientific views that make it seem like, yes, you may be the only person on this planet. I could go into this thing for hours. The point is this. Stop hating. Stop hating each other. Stop judging because a person wears this, that, or the other thing, or talks this way, that way, or the other way, or thinks this way, that way, or the other way even. Educate yourself. America, do not put these laws in place for things like YouTube, Facebook. If you have to put laws in place for something, restrict other websites. Take a note from the satellite companies. There are packages you have to pay for different things, but you get a standard package with your satellite. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever ones are the most popular. So in the top 10%, those websites should be free access. Google, maybe you can do something with Google. Google keeps track of everything anyway, so what you can do is you can, maybe for the next 10 years or 5 years even, just monitor what people are searching. Have people pay for certain searches. Good way to crack down on people who are looking for into stuff like ISIS and stuff like that, who are looking to join that kind of stuff. All that stuff. And Canada, get with the program and one up the US, okay? We have been known for being kind people and not being so stubborn. Stop being stubborn. That's Trump's job. Fix the problem. Don't sit there and argue about it. Just do it. And the great words of Shia LaBeouf, make your dreams a reality. And on that note, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go finish my sandwich now. Bye-bye. By the way, most of my videos are not this political. So if you're new to the channel, hello. Welcome to my political discussion video of the year. You won't see another one unless something goes boom on the planet until next year. Bye-bye.